Welcome to True Crime Lab Hub, where real crimes unfold and hidden motives are exposed.
The paperwork was signed. The courtroom stamp was dry. After 13 long years, the chapter was finally closed. Kevin Nikel, known to many fans as the wrestling star Knuckles Madsen, was officially a free man. It was supposed to be a moment of new beginnings, a fresh start after a painful divorce. Kevin, 41, had survived a difficult marriage and the long, draining process of separation. But the relief didn't last. In fact, his freedom lasted exactly 72 hours. Just 3 days after the final divorce decree was issued, Kevin was found on the side of a lonely Arkansas highway. The details were brutal. A confrontation in the dark, a sudden, terrible sound, and a gunshot wound to his body. Rushed to the hospital, the former athlete fought hard, but the damage was too great. Kevin Nikel was dead. The local Benton County detectives worked in silence for 4 months. They didn't have many answers for the victim's grieving family, only the promise that they were close-lipped for a reason. But when the details finally broke, they didn't just point to a random act of road rage or robbery gone wrong. They pointed straight back to the one person Kevin had just legally separated from: his ex-wife, Amanda Penny, and the new man in her life, Michael Hogue.
Behind every headline lies a story of love, betrayal, and cold-blooded murder. Subscribe now and step inside the world of true crime.
Amanda Penny, 40, and Michael Hogue, 51, were arrested by the U.S. Marshals Service and charged with murder in the first degree. The authorities believed this wasn't an accident or a panicked fight. They believed it was a planned killing, an ambush set up just 72 hours after the marriage certificate became a piece of history. Think about that timeline for a moment. Divorce finalized on Monday. Murder committed on Thursday. We have to ask, what kind of anger, what depth of conflict could lead a former spouse to allegedly plan a fatal meeting days after the split? Why was a meeting necessary at all? What was happening behind the surface of their lives that exploded so violently on the side of a dark road? We are going to take you deep into the story of Kevin and Amanda, exploring the rise and fall of their relationship and what may have driven two people to take such a terrible, final step. But first, I want to hear from you. Have you ever seen a relationship turn this sour, this quickly? Let me know in the comments below. And if you are joining us from a different place, tell us what state or country you are watching from. Your likes and subscriptions help us keep telling these important stories, so please take a moment to join the family. Now, let's go back to the beginning. The love story of Kevin Nikel and Amanda Penny started like so many others. In the hallways of their high school, Kevin was an athlete, a young man with big dreams of success in the ring. Amanda was his first true connection, the person who stood by him from the very start. As Kevin's mother, Susan Kinderman, would later recall, she was his first friend that he met in high school. They dated for years, their bond growing stronger as they left school and navigated young adulthood. This wasn't a quick romance. It was a decade-long foundation of shared history. In 2012, they made it official and married. Kevin was 29 and Amanda was 28. They had spent more than a third of their lives together before saying their vows. Kevin's path took him into the demanding world of professional wrestling, where he worked hard to make a name for himself. He competed as Knuckles Madsen, a tough, gritty character. Being a wrestler, even on the developmental circuit like WWE's NXT, is not easy. It means long hours, intense physical pain, and constant travel. It's a career that often requires a supportive partner, someone who understands the sacrifice involved. For a long time, it seems Amanda was that person. They were a team. They were happy. They were building a future. But time has a way of changing people, and sometimes those changes pull even the strongest couples apart. 13 years is a significant time. It means growing up, growing together, and sometimes, sadly, growing in different directions. For the Nikels, that divergence was about to become impossible to ignore. In the years before the divorce filing, Kevin's career demanded even more of his time and focus. He took a new job where he would be on the road for long stretches, often gone for 2 weeks at a time. This kind of arrangement puts massive stress on any marriage. It means holidays alone, missed milestones, and a lot of quiet dinners for the person left behind. For the one traveling, it means exhaustion and missing the comforts of home. As Kevin's mother explained, the joy slowly faded. They both felt the strain. They were happy for a long time, Susan Kinderman said, and then I guess they started to grow apart. This wasn't a sudden break. It was a slow, painful drift. The silence grew louder in their home. The texts became shorter. The joy that had defined their early years was replaced by a kind of mutual exhaustion and unhappiness. Neither one of them were happy, his mother confirmed. The shared dreams that had led them from high school to the altar had dissolved into separate, unfulfilled paths. The choice to file for divorce was likely a relief, a decision made out of mutual recognition that the marriage was simply over. When a relationship of 13 years, built on such a deep foundation, crumbles, the emotional toll is immense, even if the decision is mutual. It means tearing apart a life that was woven together since adolescence. This separation process, which began with Kevin's long trips away, ended up taking them down a road neither of them could have predicted. It was a road that led straight to a final, tragic confrontation on the side of a highway. The papers were filed, the assets were debated, and the end was finally in sight. But for Amanda, the ending of the marriage meant the beginning of something new, a relationship with Michael Hogue. And for Kevin, the end of his marriage would quickly lead to the end of his life. The fuse of conflict had been lit, and the final 72 hours were about to burn everything down. When a marriage lasts 13 years, the reasons it ends are often complicated. For Kevin and Amanda, the end wasn't a sudden explosion. It was more like a slow leak, a steady draining of connection caused largely by the demands of Kevin's work. Kevin's career was in a phase that required constant movement. He took a job that kept him away from Arkansas for extended periods. We're talking about him being gone for 2 weeks at a time, sometimes longer. Think about what that does to a shared life. When you are married, you are supposed to be building something together every day. When one person is constantly traveling, they are living half their life somewhere else. The distance wasn't just miles. It was emotional distance. Kevin would return home tired, focused on the next trip or recovering from the last. Amanda, meanwhile, was left to manage their life alone, and the partnership they once shared slowly became unbalanced. Kevin's mother, Susan, saw the change clearly. She watched as the two high school sweethearts, the couple who were once so happy, began to operate like roommates or even strangers. Susan said, Kevin took a job where he could be gone 2 weeks at a time, and things just progressively got worse until they divorced. It's a simple sentence, but it holds a world of sadness. Things just progressively got worse. That phrase captures the quiet tension that builds over months and years. It's the missed opportunities, the arguments over small things because they couldn't talk about the big things, and the simple fact that they were no longer walking the same path. They had grown into different people with different needs. The mutual understanding that defined their youth was gone. Kevin's job was feeding his career, but it was starving his marriage. The consequence was that both Amanda and Kevin became miserable. Susan confirmed that neither one of them were happy. When both partners in a long-term marriage are unhappy, divorce becomes the only choice left. They realized they had grown so far apart that the love they had shared since high school couldn't bridge the gap anymore. The love turned into resentment, and the partnership turned into pain. The divorce process itself is another level of difficulty. It forces a couple to argue over every shared possession, every dollar earned, and every memory created. This is a painful, often bitter time, even in the best circumstances. In their case, with all that history, the legal separation likely became a war of words. The friendly, supportive relationship that started in high school was now reduced to court documents and lawyers' letters. It was during this long, difficult separation that Amanda made a significant change in her life. She found a new companion, Michael Hogue. He was 51 years old, and his entrance into her life marks the final, irreversible turning point in this story. Michael Hogue wasn't just a new love interest. His presence meant the end of any possibility of reconciliation between Kevin and Amanda. It added fuel to the fire of the divorce proceedings. The emotional stakes suddenly became much, much higher. As the legal battle moved toward its end, the tension outside the courtroom reached a critical point. The paperwork was almost complete, but the emotional battle was just beginning. And with a new man now standing beside his ex-wife, Kevin Nikel was in a situation that was about to turn deadly. The final moment of truth was set for July 8th, the day the divorce became official. But the final, tragic confrontation would come just 3 days after that. While the divorce proceedings dragged on, a new figure stepped into Amanda Penny's life, 51-year-old Michael Hogue. We don't know exactly when their relationship began, but it's clear it took hold during the tumultuous period when Kevin and Amanda were splitting apart. The presence of a new partner during a divorce, especially one as long and complicated as this, changes everything. Can intensify feelings of anger, jealousy, and betrayal. What might have been a messy, but civil, legal process can quickly become an emotional powder keg. For months, the two sides, Kevin on one side and Amanda, now with Michael Hogue on the other, fought through the legal system. It was a fight over 13 years of shared life, assets, and possibly pride. Every argument was a reminder of what they had lost and what they were fighting to keep. Then came the day that should have ended the fighting forever, July 8th. On this date, the divorce between Kevin Nikel and Amanda Penny was officially finalized. The court closed the book on their marriage. Kevin was legally free. Amanda was legally free. The long, painful tie was cut. But true crime often shows us that when the legal battle ends, the real danger begins. Finality can push someone who feels they have lost everything to take desperate, dangerous steps. In the 72 hours that followed the divorce, the quiet ended. Kevin's mother, Susan Kinderman, noticed an immediate spike in activity. The tension, which had been simmering for months, suddenly boiled over. Susan told reporters that there was some kind of argument, an intense texting going back and forth, right before her son was killed. This wasn't a peaceful separation. This was an active, angry dispute that continued even after the papers were signed. What were they arguing about? Was it money? Was it a final, prized possession? Was it Michael Hogue's involvement? We can only guess, but the intensity of the communication was high enough that detectives later confirmed to Kevin's mother that they knew about the dispute. The nature of these texts is crucial. They weren't polite goodbyes. They were conflict. And that conflict seems to have centered on one thing: a meeting. Kevin's mother said she was told by detectives that Amanda and Michael Hogue had enticed Kevin to meet up with them. That word, enticed, is heavy. It doesn't suggest a casual run-in or a spontaneous meeting. It suggests a deliberate setup. It implies that Amanda and Michael used the intense texting argument to lure Kevin to a specific location under false pretenses. They brought him out to the side of the highway for a final, deadly confrontation. This detail changes the entire case from a fight that went too far into an alleged plot. If they enticed him, the meeting wasn't about closure. It was about something far more dangerous. Kevin, perhaps expecting a final argument or a transfer of property, agreed to the meeting. He drove to the agreed-upon spot. He walked into what police would later describe as an altercation. He didn't know it, but he had just driven into an ambush. 3 days after he gained his freedom, he was about to lose his life. This case brings up a difficult topic. What drives a person to such a point of no return? Do you think the rage was about the loss of the marriage, or was it something to do with the money and assets after the divorce? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We read every comment, and your thoughts help keep this conversation going. Remember to like this video if you find this story important. The stage was set on that quiet stretch of highway. Amanda Penny and Michael Hogue were there, allegedly waiting. Kevin Nikel arrived. What happened next happened fast and violently.
If you enjoyed this true crime story from True Crime Lab Hub, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, like, and share it with fellow true crime enthusiasts. We'd also love to hear your thoughts, so drop your comments below.